Magic Treehouse, Fact Checker, Tsunamis and Other Natural Disasters. Chapter 1, Disaster. On December 26, 24, Tilly Smith, a schoolgirl from England, was on vacation with her family. They were visiting an island off the coast of Thailand. The day was bright and sunny as Tilly and her family walked along the beach. The ocean appeared calm and clear, but as she walked, Tilly noticed that the water suddenly seemed odd. Waves rolled with foam that looked like it was sizzling in a frying pan. The surface of the water seemed to bubble. Waves came in, but they didn't go back out again. The beach was getting smaller and smaller. Suddenly, Tilly remembered what she learned in school just 2 weeks before. The class had been studying the huge waves called tsunamis. Tilly remembered the warning sign of a tsunami. She got really scared. These were the signs she learned about. She started screaming. Tilly's parents ran to her side. She told them what her teacher had said in class. Tilly and her parents rushed up and down the beach, screaming for everyone to run. Then they raced to warn people in the hotel. Everyone scrambled for safety. Tilly and her family climbed to the third floor of the hotel. Minutes later, a wall of water crashed onto the beach. 3 huge tsunami waves struck, one after the other. The sea seemed like an angry monster. Everything in its path was gobbled up. Tables and chairs landed in the pool. Palm trees toppled over, but Tilly and her family were safe. The water did not destroy the hotel. Thanks to Tilly and her parents, and many other people survived as well. Tilly Smith meet former President Bill Clinton on a visit to the UN in 2025. Tilly had been part of a terrible nature disaster. This disaster was caused by an earthquake many miles away. The earthquake took place in the Indian Ocean. It set off one of the worst tsunamis in history. 2 hours after the earthquake, giant waves hit the coasts of Thailand and Indonesia. Hours later, waves reached the coast of southern India and East Africa, more than 5,000 miles away. When it was over, around 300 million people were dead. 2 months later, rescue teams were still finding over 500 bodies a day. Natural disasters, tsunamis, earthquakes, and volcanoes can create natural disasters, terrible events caused by nature. Weather caused some natural disasters like hurricanes and tornadoes, but tsunamis, earthquakes, and volcanoes being deep inside the earth. For many years, scientists knew little about the way the earth worked. They could not explain the exact reason for earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanoes. They were puzzled about why these things happened in some places and not in the others. The scientists did research for many years. Then, 40 years ago, a group of scientists came up with some ideas. These ideas came from clues they saw on the ocean floor. What they concluded may be hard to believe. They said that the ground we stand on is actually floating and it's moving. These movements can cause major natural disasters. A boat landed on Natia Pumi's house in Thailand during the tsunami. Turn the page to find out more about the word disaster. Chapter 2: Earthquakes. Earthquakes happen both underwater and land. Each year there are about 1 million earthquakes all over the world. Most earthquakes last only a few seconds. They're not dangerous. People usually don't even feel the earth moving at all. The great earthquake that caused the tsunami of 24 lasted about 10 minutes. Earthquakes being beneath the Earth's surface. The Earth is made up of different layers. The outer layer that we live on is called the crust. The crust is made up of rocks and dirt. In most places, the crust is all about 25 miles thicker under the Earth's surface. The crust is thinner under the ocean. There it is about 6 miles thick. The middle layer of the Earth is called the mantle. The mantle is about 1,800 miles thick. The mantle consists of super hot rocks. These rocks are not exactly solid, but they are not exactly liquid either. Rocks in the mantle are like a thick paste. Deeper down in the mantle, many of the rocks get so hot that they melt. These melted rocks is called magma. There are two parts of the core. The deepest layer of the Earth is the deepest layer of the Earth. There is an outer core and an inner core. The outer core is about 100 to 400 miles thick. It is made up of molten rocks and metal, mostly iron and nickel. The inner core is about the size of our moon. It is mostly made up of super hot metals. The temperature of the inner core can be over 6,000 degrees. That's hotter than anything you can imagine. Crust, rocks and dirt. Mantle, very hot rocks and melted rocks. Outer core, melted metals and rocks. Inner core, super hot metals that are solid. Even though the inner core is very hot, there is so much pressure on it that the metal remains solid. How is the Earth like a peach? That's easy. The skin is like the crust. The fruit is like the mantle. And the pit is like the core. Plate tectonic theory. Scientists have found that the Earth's crust is not made up of one solid piece. It is made up of different sections. These sections come in different sizes and shapes. Scientists call the sections plates. They have a theory about the plates called them plate tectonic theory. A theory is an explanation based on lots of research. Nine large plates and many smaller plates from the crust. Scientists describe the plates as huge as platforms of rock and dirt. They fit together a little bit like a jigsaw puzzle. The platforms or plates actually float on top of the mantle. Scientists have concluded that the plates move. Experts believe the moving plates cause earthquakes and volcanoes. They also believe that the moving plates create some of our great mountains. Tectonic comes from a Greek word that means builder. Movements of the plates. The plates move very slowly. In fact, they move about as slowly as your fingernails grow. When moving plates meet, three things can happen. 1. Some plates slide past each other. When they slip past, they rub against each other. When plates move away from one another, it is called rifting. 2. At times, the plates called it. Sometimes when this happens, one plate slides under the other. This is called subduction. What causes earthquakes? The point directly above where an earthquake occurs is the epicenter. The epicenter is often at the edge of moving plates. As the plates slide past each other, they cause a break in the Earth's surface. This break is called a fault. The San Andreas Fault is over 1,000 miles long. When the plates move, rocks break off. This creates edges that are rough and jagged. As the plates continue to move, the edges of one plate can get stuck on the edges of the other. When the edges come unstuck, a huge amount of energy is suddenly released. This power force causes the earth to shake. These movements are called seismic waves. Seismic means that the movements are caused by an earthquake. Earthquake waves move on average about 1,006,000 miles per hour through rock. The waves move fastest through colder rocks. They slow down in sand, water, and warmer rocks. During a big earthquake, the ground seemed to turn into jelly. The earth shakes from side to side and rolls like waves in the ocean. Sometimes the earth cracks, cars bounce up and down. Windows break, buildings crumble, sometimes trapping people inside. Entire cities can tumble into ruins after only a few minutes of shaking. Following an earthquake, aftershocks can occur for days, weeks, and even months. If you were ever in an earthquake, you'll never forget it. A huge earthquake releases about the same amount of energy as 2,005,000 atomic bombs. Aftershocks are smaller quakes set off by the main quake. Did you know there are earthquakes on the moon? Yes, but they are actually moonquakes. How earthquakes happen. Plates wave. Plates move. Collide. Pull apart. Brush together. Slide under one another. Energy released. Measuring earthquakes. Scientists use an instrument called a seismograph to measure movements deep inside the earth. There are seismographs all over the world. Scientists who study earthquakes are called seismologists. Seismologists know an earthquake is underway when the seismograph records rapid, strong movements near the edge of a plate. Experts describe an earthquake's strength by using numbers on the moment magnitude scale. The earthquake that caused the 24 tsunami was a magnitude 9.3. Magnitude means the size of an event. Scientists used numbers to scale to describe how hard the earth shakes. Minor 339. Light 449. Medium 559. Strong 669. Major 779. Great 8 and larger. Earthquake. Not all earthquakes create tsunamis. Earthquakes happen on land as well as underwater. Some of the most powerful earthquakes have been on land. They have killed thousands of people and destroyed whole cities. California and Alaska have the most earthquakes in the United States. In 1906, a terrible earthquake nearly destroyed the city of Francisco, California. The epicenter was near downtown. The shaking only lasted about a minute. Buildings began to collapse. Victims were trapped under the rubble. As the building toppled, they killed people in the streets. Gas lines broke. Terrible fires raged out of control. Firemen ran out of water. To stop the fires from spreading from building to building, firefighters blew up some of the buildings with dynamite. As fires spread through the damaged city, people began to flee for their lives. They tried to carry all their belongings with them. Some used baby buggies, wagons, and go-karts. Others carried trunks and suitcases. The loads were too heavy for many. Soon trunks as household items littered the roads. Many people lost everything they owned. Much of the city was a smoking ruin. San Francisco, 1906. It took years after the earthquake before San Francisco returned to normal. Today, it is a beautiful city that tourists visit from all over the world. Earthquake safety. Predicting an earthquake is not like predicting the weather. Even with good instruments, no one can tell exactly when an earthquake will hit, and no one is sure how much damage will result. You will probably never be in an earthquake, but if you are and you feel the ground shaking, do these things right away. 1. Take cover under a table, in a doorway, or in a closet. 2. Stay away from heavy objects that could topple over, such as bookcases and refrigerators. 3. If you are outside, get away from buildings and power lines. 4. If you hear a hissing sound or smell gas, leave quickly.